Let's Hiroshima this shiz. Supersonic Mario Lost Galaxy World's story is the physical embodiment of gonorrhea. Brought to you by the geniuses of Color's jokes and Generation's story. This deformed identity crisis of a script combines everything people hated about those stories into a steaming pile of hazardous waste. Allow me to elaborate. We start 10,000 feet in the air with Sonic and Tails in hot pursuit of Robotnik. No, I will not call him Eggman, and this was a good way to start the story. It's interesting, cinematic, and energetic. 3 things that are fundamentally foreign to the rest of the script. So drink it in, it's pretty much all downhill from here. Evident by the first line of the game.
Drop the critters, Eggman!
Who in the name of Jeb Bush is that shrill 50-year-old man pretending to be a 25-year-old man pretending to be a teenager? Because that's not Sonic. We're not gonna call him Sonic. That's Daniel. Daniel the Hedgehog. Daniel the Hedgehog uses a poor choice of words, which makes Robotnik drop his payload, which makes Tails say,
"Whoa, that's harsh!"
Hold up.
Is this the first time you've met Robotnik, you self-absorbed rotting orange peel in a fox's coat? Because that's not Tails. No siree. That's Seamus. Why Seamus? We'll find out soon enough. Because, oh look, Robotnik does a smart and takes advantage of how much of a failure Daniel and Seamus are. So clearly they're about to go into a nosedive for a good minute before smashing into the ground below, right? Lol, nope, because Convenience pays them a visit and presents...
That must be the lost hex!
I'm sorry, but what the fried chicken snap is that? Where did it come from? Why is it hollow? Why is it floating in the air? Why does Seamus know about this, but Daniel doesn't? When did he find out about it? What is going on? Want to know how many of these questions are answered in this game?
None of you bitches! None of you bitches!
Despite the fact that Daniel and Seamus are crash landing on the same plane, Daniel decides to abandon Seamus to crash and burn alone. Quality friendship there, boys. Cut to these recognizable cardboard cutouts of characters that have no purpose whatsoever. They stand in the Minecraft field for the entire game and nag Daniel, while also playing with chibi animals. How incredibly helpful and necessary to the story they are. Next, we jump over to Robotnik, who's teaching a mysterious figure how to create badniks. As if that's impressive, considering how easily they're defeated in this game. They literally function as stepping stones for Sonic to progress through the levels. How utterly pathetic is that? But the bigger question is, who is this character with Robotnik? Is he a new ally that Robotnik has sought out through careful consideration and will have a good relationship with throughout the story? Is it at least someone he trusts won't betray him at the drop of a hat?
No, son.
It's Zavok, a character who is so bland and generic they don't even call him by name in the game. Let me repeat that because I'm sure some of you don't believe me. This character, who becomes the main antagonist of the story, is so underdeveloped, his name is never spoken in the entire game. That's a clear sign of how much thought the lobotomized monkeys writing this thing put into it. If that wasn't bad enough, then the next part of the scene has the remainder of the villains in shadow, except for this autistically screeching crack addict with Tourette's. Why in the flying formaldehyde are these characters in shadow when we already got them shoved down our throats in the opening for this slog? And the promotional campaign for the game. Everything about them was revealed because, let me tell you, once you see them, you know everything there is to know about them. We'll get to that later, apparently, because the game is playing coy with us like a version on prom night. Cutting back to our hero, he catches up with Robotnik, who is, for some reason, out in the open when he has a whole anus fortress he could be holed up in, complete with cameras that show him, conveniently, every single thing happening on the Lost Hex. There was no reason for him to come out of his heavily fortified fortress, especially since the Deficit 6 function as the end of the level boss fights. So, I guess he just wanted some fresh air. Let's go with that.
They are the Deadly Six, and they are your worst enemies.
Wow, his worst enemies? How? No, really, how? He's never met them before this very moment. How are they his worst enemies if he has no idea who they are, and vice versa? Do you know how worst enemies work, you Crimson Tractor? Oh look, a fourth wall break. Those are always funny, am I right? Then Daniel makes one of two passable jokes throughout this entire story.
Are you disrespecting me?
Maybe.
That was fine. I like that. But as quick as it showed up, it's shoved aside for one of the dumbest decisions in this game. Why didn't all of you fight him at once? Where are you going? Don't you want him dead and or captured? Wouldn't all of them fighting at once increase their chances? Why is everyone in this game either more useless than a band-aid on a gunshot wound or dumber than a sack of doorknobs?
You're going home in a box!
Get used to dark things like that happening with zero warning to make the tone so inconsistent that keeping track of when it shifts will give you whiplash. After beating Zaz, Daniel meets up with Seamus. Yeah, remember how he crashed after Danny phantomed off the plane and left him to fend for himself? I wonder how that affected Seamus and his relationship with Daniel.
I've built a TV out of paper clips.
Yeah.
And reprogrammed a supercomputer using dishwashing detergent and a toothpick.
I know.
So look, fixing a propeller on a biplane? That's about as difficult as taking a nap.
Do you see why he's named Seamus now? No one on this planet wanted Tails to become this mass of ego. This petulant, self-absorbed, insufferable, useless piece of garbage is not the same plucky sidekick that's grown and developed over the years into a heroic and intelligent young man. This is Seamus, a prick who should be ashamed for daring to call himself Tails. But no time to dwell on that because Robotnik's spitting straight fire. What the Hugh Jackman Hobbit is that? And why the heck does it hurt the Safe Space 6? No, you know what? What the heck even are these things? What the heck is a Zeddy, and why are there only 6 of them, and where did they come from? And what the floppy froggy duck is this lore anymore? This whole game is so friggin' random, there's nothing that can't happen. A box of used dental floss could be the final villain, and it would be normal for this Jurassic Park-sized turd.
You, fat one, go take care of that blue pest.
Hey, who are you calling fat?
I can't. Really? Every scene? Every single scene is wrong. Really? Not a single one is passable? They're all terrible? Why? I don't understand. This behemoth-sized personification of expired cheese whiz is a perfect encapsulation of why this story and these characters fail. The fact that this thing exists in a Sonic game is a major disaster. I don't care if you think he's funny or you like some aspect about him. He is the worst character in the entire franchise. Big is better than Zamam. Charmy is better than Zamam. Omo Chow is better than Zamam. It boggles my mind that anyone allowed this thing into the franchise. And now for something completely different and yet equally as disturbing.
Oh, yeah, baby. That's the stuff. Baby. Oh, yeah.
I told you it was random and the tone can and will flip-flop faster than pancakes at an all-you-can-eat buffet. And if you think that's bad, watch the writers flip from this to this.
So basically, what I was thinking of was, oh fuck, I can't believe you've done this.
I both despise and adore this moment simply because Daniel's parading around like an obnoxious frat boy that won't shut up at a party because he needs everyone to know just how above it all he is. And I needed someone to put him in his place right about now. So I love this scene for all the wrong reasons. Kind of like how everyone clapped when Brie Larson got punched by Thanos in Endgame. Thank Christ someone hit that insufferable thundering munt with a 2x4 for an ass. Then we cut to this wonderful scene of Daniel getting a chance to show us just how heroic he is.
Think that thing in Eggman's hand!
Eggman's shell is gone.
That was a mistake.
Whatever. When is it a mistake to take your toys away?
Oh. What a paragon of competent heroism you are, Danny boy. Not sure why the Degradation 6 have the ability to control robots, but like I said, this game is built on randomness and nonsense, so whatever. During the scuffle, Seamus gets hit by a stray blast, which... Okay, do I need to remind everybody who this character is actually supposed to be? In his first freaking appearance in this franchise, he was tanking blows left and right and kept on trucking. He is in league with Sonic in strength, durability, and speed. Why in the Moogle Google 6th Ring of Hell is this happening? Why is he so weak now? It was a single dopey buzz bomber, man. These Batniks are like larger than average marshmallows in the levels. Why in the name of Sammy Davis Jr. is he incapacitated by any of them? No, scratch that. Why are they running away from them? There's 20 of them. That's it. There's more Batniks in the first level of this game than in this one cutscene. Why are you running away, you insipid Dumbledore-sized piss stain? Sweet Sandra Bullock, I can't take this, and we're only a quarter of the way through. Initiating lazy mode. Amy tells Danny she can't live without him, which makes Danny say, die, which she eventually will. That'll show him. Danny fights Zik, who is old, that is his single defining characteristic. Then Robotnik comes back and tells them the Mediocre Six is using his massive soap machine to dry out Minecraft. Danny and Seamus act like insufferable clumps of vomit to make things difficult for Robotnik, despite the fact that they need to team up in order to win the day. Quite the heroic feat. But what's this? Seamus and Daniel stir up some drama out of nowhere, argue about nothing, then proceed to say the cheesiest, most dated line of the entire game.
You know how much that bites?
I do trust you, Tails, but the whole world's in danger because I did something stupid. Do you know how much that bites?
Actually, nothing bites more than having to listen to this dreadful conversation.
Eggman, you bite!
10 out of 10 writers. Solid job. This will totes relate to them young peoples in the modern times. Yeet and fidget spinning. Girl character does girly things because of all that girl in her ovaries. What an interesting and layered character that won't be remembered solely because she has thighs thicker than oatmeal and eternally pursed lips. Wait, Daniel makes a hilarious cool guy joke.
That was cool. Pun entirely intended.
Because only the coolest characters in media communicate in puns. Then say pun entirely intended afterwards. This story is so well written, it makes me want to punch myself unconscious so I can forget it exists. Suddenly it's winter, and Robotnik does something incredibly dark out of nowhere, exhibits superhuman powers he's never had before, and then we get to the second passable joke in the entire story.
Oh my gosh, are you serious? I am so sorry.
Oh, well, in that case...
Oh no, what I meant to say is, I'm so sorry that you have nothing more important to do in life.
It's all downhill from here, isn't it?
I can't feel my legs.
Why do these obnoxious shapes still exist, you snaky Indiana Jones cucks? Seamus, who was virtually sucking his own dick about how much of a tech genius he is, nearly gets himself killed by trying to be a tech genius. It's not like that makes him look like a massive tool, right? Then in an interesting but not established turn of events, Robotnik is the one that saves him, which leads Daniel to deliver yet another brilliant line.
1 second you're contemplating genocide, and the next you're saving one of your worst enemies.
I'm a complicated guy.
That doesn't explain shiz. Why did you risk your life to save that puny, lumpy shell of a character we barely recognize? Explain this. What is the tone of this scene? Is it somber, comedic, lighthearted? The writers said, fuck it, and chose all of the above. Get wrecked, logic and common sense. Evil leader says evil leader things, and that brings up a critical question. Why does this oversized package of big red gum want to destroy the world and or Daniel? What is his motivation? What is his goal? What is his reason for doing anything? I'm legitimately asking because I don't know. Why would he want to kill Sonic when Sonic is the one that freed him from Robotnik's control? Why would he want to destroy the world? What does he have to gain from that? Why is he less developed than a friggin' Scooby-Doo villain? That's not even me exaggerating. Literally every Scooby-Doo Where Are You villain is better developed than this lumpy jelly bean who skips leg day. And they're more intimidating too. Yes, I'm more afraid of a guy who buttons his shirts over his head to look like Sleepy Hollow than this literal demon who barfs fire and can turn into a kaiju. That's where we are right now. Settle in, kiddies, because it only gets worse from here. Seamus does the single most decent thing any character has done this whole game.
Sonic, it's a trap!
Tails, no!
But it comes out of nowhere, is not properly built up, and amounts to a big old goose egg in the long run. But look at how badly they wanted this story to be taken seriously, while simultaneously doing everything in their power to make sure it's all a big friggin' joke. Because this scene is sandwiched between our unnamed villain twirling his mustache and waiting for someone else to give him a friggin' motivation, and the introduction to one of the cringiest, most vapid, and tonally inconsistent characters in the entire franchise.
Sigh, everything seems so pointless.
Do I even need to explain? Nope, because this is lazy mode. Emo stereotype number 3 outruns Daniel. Yes, the fastest thing alive is outrun by emo stereotype number 3. Right after, mind you, his best friend was kidnapped by emo stereotype number 3, and Daniel demands to know where they've taken him. Emo stereotype still gets away. More than once. I wish I was making that up. Meanwhile, Seamus tries out for a promising modeling career instead of trying to defend himself or even run away. Perfect sense of priorities. Then emo stereotype number 3 says one of the darkest things ever in a Sonic game and just leaves.
Only the Reaper wins in the end.
Like, do you want to explore how Daniel feels about that? Or give a reason as to why Hot Topics Employee of the Month feels that way in the first place? Round thing that I was hoping somehow died after Generations makes a very distasteful comment about Seamus's capture, and I'm reminded once again that the tone of this game is all of the above for every scene. Because as any good writer knows, your tone can never be too varied. Especially in a single friggin' scene. Next, the writers waste a perfectly good opportunity to name their main villain when the meaty man bun himself shows up to say nya 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 to Daniel before leaping away dramatically like this is a friggin' Zack Snyder film. Because that's what good villains do, establish frick all with the hero in lieu of acting like a plus-size schoolyard bully with self-esteem issues. Just a staggering amount of development for this flaming hot Cheeto puff prick. And now's our regularly scheduled neck-breaking shift in tone, wherein Daniel informs the shapes that I wish somehow died in Generations that Seamus is getting technoed. Foolishly, he expected a measure of consolidation, solidarity, or just basic empathy from them, and is instead treated to a tasteless, unfunny sequence that I guess someone can technically call a joke.
Being a robot's not so bad.
From where I'm sitting, it is a nightmare. Who thought that putting this bucket brain's head on me was a good idea?
Man, oh man, I'm on the floor after that one, and it's not from laughter. The Diabetes 6 have corrupted the Minecraft file, and now Amy and Knuckles are dead. Their final moments shown Daniel live due to his obnoxiously big iPad. Yes, this actually happens, and yes, I wish I was making this up. Once again, this scene is right after a freaking too soon joke with our resident obnoxious comic relief floating shapes. I don't know how anyone can experience this without wanting to rip off their ears in a desperate attempt to escape the reality where this game exists. Next up, it turns out that our minty-haired horny golem decided he didn't feel like turning Seamus into a robot when he said he did, so he's doing it now. How relatable, he's a procrastinator. That makes me forget how incredibly retarded it is to announce your plans before you've even started enacting them. Because he's just like me. If I were a rancid clump of raw chicken nuggets.
I am beautiful.
But what's this? Seamus has a trick up his sleeve?
I built a TV out of paper clips and reprogrammed a supercomputer using dishwashing detergent and a toothpick. I'm not even gonna need the detergent for this one.
I don't... The sandwich? Really? Why did they leave the room? Zamam's single character trait is to consume all food. Why would he leave the sandwich? Why didn't you stay in the room? What do you have to go and do right now other than this? Why wasn't Seamus knocked out if you wanted to leave? And that's not how a tale works. That's just, you can't just, why does this game exist? Why?
Because we're and life is a fucking nightmare.
I'm getting an aneurysm. Daniel, who previously was beside himself with grief, rage, and a laser-focused determination to save his friend, who may very well be getting technoed at this very moment, takes a break to smell the sulfur and toss pebbles off a bridge. I want to kill everyone. None of them deserve to live. I'm sorry, you don't get to show me how distraught and panicked he is, and then tell me he's gonna take a break in enemy territory to throw friggin' rocks off the side of a bridge. You can't do that. It's paradoxical. Thankfully, Crack Addict and Cheese Whiz are here to rescue us from having to look at Daniel be a Kwame Kilpatrick geriatric cuck by attempting to do what I just said I wanted to do. Friggin' kill him. But then something crazy happens. Robotnik actually comes out in the clutch and saves Daniel at the cost of his own life. Yes, this scene happens right after Seamus's nonsensical machinations, which is supposed to be either funny or light-hearted somehow. Do you understand what this game is doing? At every turn, this game has wasted incredible story potential for a quick moment of shock. Then it goes back and says, lol, none of this matters. It's a talking hedgehog with big shoes. Caring is stupid and so are you. Deal with it, you dumb turds. Why do any of this just to take it all back in a matter of minutes? Every single moment in this Atlantic, ceramic, titanic crapshoot of a game that has any potential is friggin' wasted immediately afterwards. Christ in heaven, I can't do this initiating lazier mode. Daniel fights 3 of the deafening 6, kills them essentially. No, we don't have time to explore how he feels about that, nor how their comrades feel about their deaths, because look, we went from one-dimensional tired jokes masquerading as characters to Daniel mourning his friends alone with a super sad piano in the background. Does anybody else need some icy hot for that whiplash? Because I sure do. How in the green googly eyes of Morgan Freeman does any of this follow? Speaking of those creatures, Daniel confronts the last 3 embarrassingly unimpressive bits of trail mix that is the remainder of the Dumbly 6. They really try to make this seem like a well-built-up moment when Daniel says,
I'm getting tired of you guys.
No, I'm tired of this entire game, Daniel. You don't get to be tired. Suck it up and finish this already. I got crap to do today. Also, let's not forget, Daniel is supposed to be super pissed off that these things killed his friends. But here he's just exasperated as if he just realized he forgot to wash the dishes. How deep is your connection to your loved ones, you slab of callous, braggadocious herpes? The only character that needs a name tag in this game decides to reveal his trump card. Robotails. Now, if you're wondering if this is gonna be interesting,
stop that.
We've been to hell and somehow a whole other hell and back. You know nothing interesting is gonna happen here.
What?
Is anyone surprised by this? We saw Seamus mess with the computer. Look at the screen and tell the audience, I'm gonna be perfectly fine and you're soggy chumps for being invested in any of this. This isn't some triumphant moment. It's a pedantic excuse for a scene and I just need this to end already. Daniel kills the rest of the drooling 6, then Seamus attempts to be relevant, which we can't have, so the writers suddenly come up with a twist to end all twists. What a shocker! The only character that's existed for as long as the title character and is featured in basically every game of this franchise is still alive? Who could have foreseen this turn of events? But after everything this game has put these characters through, after Robotnik went through some form of a character arc, after he earned the respect of Daniel and Seamus, after all of them united against a common foe to save their world, Robotnik decides to attack them. And Daniel's response to this incredibly emotional course of action is...
The only thing that's gonna get conquered is your face, Eggman!
Yeah, I can't do this.
Are you seriously doing this, game? You can't build up Robotnik and Daniel's relationship. Give him a redemption arc, which that's what it was, a redemption arc, then kill him just to bring him back as the final boss. You can't do that. And you sure as tits can't make Daniel and Seamus completely unaffected by this betrayal. You can't flip the script completely like this and expect me to believe that they just go with the flow. That makes no sense at all. I mean, this entire abortion of a game doesn't make sense, but this right here makes so little sense, I think we've gone into the negative numbers. I'm owed some sense right about now, you moldy carrot of a script. But no. It's time for Sonic Colors' final boss copy-pasted over into this game for some reason. And then the final few scenes that assures us that nothing in this 7-car pile-up clown show meant anything at all. Also, Daniel freaking kills Robotnik. But at this point, who the hell still cares? Like I said, anything is everything, and everyone can be anyone. Nothing makes any sense, which means nothing matters at all. Anyway, Seamus gives the entire planet the reverse sup and decides to finally use the plane they got here with to go home. Wouldn't it have made more sense to use the tornado to fly across the Lost Hex as soon as you fixed it and avoid the Delusional Six to bust the machine so you wouldn't have to watch your friends in your Minecraft world die a slow, horrible death? But lol, who cares, because when they get back to MinecraftSimulator.exe, Amy and Knuckles... Actually, I'm sorry, that's not Knuckles. Knuckles is on Angel Island, protecting the Master Emerald, being a boss. This is Ginger. Ginger, the personification of a useless seat filler. So Amy and Ginger, the anus tart jobber, are back from the dead, and they have no lingering issues, medical or mental, from this entire experience. You know, like normal people deal with near-death experiences. Then Daniel and Seamus appear to get their accolades for a job severely poorly done. I mean, my God, Big could have done a better job than these two pathetic Dorito chip double-dip Dumbos. And the game finally ends. Never in all my time as a Sonic fan, heck, as a fan of writing and common frickin' sense in general, have I ever seen something so irreversibly broken. From the premise on down, this dusty, crusty, juggly act of a script is coming apart at the seams, and it is impossible not to notice. Not even if you were drunk, blind, and stupid could you fail to notice how insufferable the protagonists are, how immeasurably shallow the stereotypes acting as the antagonists are, how uncomfortable whatever the tone is from moment to moment, how incredibly haphazard the sequence of events are, and how inconsequential every second of this Kinko's Discount Dolphin Orphan Pole dance of a story is. I have lost brain cells trying to comprehend even the simplest sequence of events. I tried using them to understand what the heck is going on in this godforsaken script, and they said, "Fuck it!" and committed Sudoku as to not dishonor their families. The writing on display here is stupendously horrible. Utterly stupefying, astonishing, incredulous. Screw it, all the adjectives you can possibly think of. Put them in front of the word bad, and that is an accurate description of this ridiculous, mutilated corpse that got animated by the evil scientist from Robot Chicken and crawled its way into this franchise. The only redeeming quality of this effortlessly obnoxious load of soggy toilet paper on a grease fire is just how memeable it is. If anything I've said in this rant struck a chord with you, check out the rest of my channel for some Lost World memes and some other analytical Sonic stuff. Now somebody stick a fork in me, because I am so freaking done with this pile of puke pretending to be a story.